reasonable or was an honest assessment of the situation. I couldn't just blindly follow them off the edge of a cliff, and I guess he feels the same. He has an assessment which is actually we don't think that the problem is Brexit. We don't think that the problem is even the withdrawal agreement. It's kind of quite a logical, sensible approach. The problem is just a hung parliament and trying to unblock that parliament, and that's where he's trying to shine the spotlight, really.
Some of his colleagues think he's been a bit too aggressive in his attacks on other candidates, including Boris Johnson. Do you think that's been a bit of a problem?
I have a difficulty seeing Boris as a victim, I must say. I don't really see that. Obviously, this kind of blue on blue is always, you've got to get the line right, because of course we all are, we're colleagues together. But I think it's a reasonable question. These are really extraordinary times for our country, and you have to be straight. And I think what Rory's shown out in the public is that actually the public has an appetite for some honesty. It's been told different things from different politicians with different agendas, and it really doesn't know what the right thing is to do, and it's confusing. Is no deal a problem or not? Ask anybody in the street and they'll come up with a different answer. And of course,
do you feel you're any the wiser about that, having listened to the candidates in debates?
Well, I worked for 30 years before coming here in international business, so I actually felt I was a bit wiser about it anyway, because I've worked in the areas most affected by Brexit, and I kind of understand these agreements and stuff, so I've read all the material. So for me, I have a bit more of an understanding of what people hope to be true, like there is a renegotiation on offer, and that is brilliant. If there is, and we get a new negotiation, fine, that will be absolutely brilliant. But I think the real question of leadership is, what are you going to do if it's not available? What are you going to do if the EU and what they're saying very consistently all the time, which is we're not reopening the withdrawal agreement, we will put something in the political declaration, we will give some more comfort on the backstop and hopefully deal with the problems that some of the Irish parties have, but they're not going to change the withdrawal agreement. If that's true, what is left of many of these other plans, I think, is still a good question.
Okay, Gillian Keegan, thank you very much. I know you want to get up to listen to the result in the room, so we will know very shortly who the remaining candidates are.
All right, Vicky, thank you. Vicky Young there in Central Lobby. Let's just take you to, I think it's Committee Room 14, isn't it? Where the 1922 committee will shortly make that announcement in hopefully 3 minutes' time, unless there's a delay. But there shouldn't be. They've been on time pretty much right through the previous round. So that's where we'll be getting the decision on the third ballot of the leadership race. Let's return now to Joanne Nadler, former Tory spin doctor, and Chris Williams, former head of strategy for Theresa May. Chris, we just heard one MP talking about Rory Stewart there and how he's electrified this campaign and really brought it to life in the eyes of many. If he is the one who loses out tonight, where do his votes go?
Well, indeed, I think naturally you would think that some of his votes would go towards Michael Gove. And I think probably what will happen if Rory does lose out tonight, I suspect Sajid Javid might also consider dropping out and backing Boris Johnson, and then you're into a straight fight between Michael Gove and Jeremy Hunt tomorrow. And I think Rory's votes would naturally go more towards Michael maybe than Jeremy. But ultimately, I think it's true to say that Boris would rather face Jeremy Hunt in the final two, in the runoff. Yeah. And he has enough votes to play with that actually he can almost engineer it. He can lend votes to Jeremy Hunt, as it were, in that final round to make sure that that's what happens. So currently, I think the odds are probably in favour of a Boris Johnson, Jeremy Hunt runoff. But as we've seen in this contest, I mean, it's unpredictable and nothing's certain.
Sure. What exactly is the clear blue water between the two of them, Joanne, in terms of Brexit, for instance?
Between
Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt?
Well, that's a very good question, because last night's debate I thought was absolutely revelatory, because Boris Johnson, on the one thing that he and his team are stressing is the absolute sort of core of his approach, which is that we would leave on the EU on Halloween come hook or by crook, as it were. He seemed to be slightly ambivalent about that, it strikes me. And if you build in an ambivalence from Boris Johnson, then quite frankly it is quite difficult to see what the difference is between him and Jeremy Hunt. So when it comes to that debate in the country, if it is indeed those two, I mean, that is the thing that they are both going to have to hone, because they will be asked about it all the time at every hustings that they attend, even if the hustings is nominally about something other than Brexit.
I suppose, Chris, some might say that it's not really going to matter whoever Boris Johnson gets, because, you know, he has got the party. It's a bit like Donald Trump with the Republicans in the United States. He's got that party locked down, hasn't he?
Oh, well, Boris has won, but he'd won before we even started this. He was always going to win, in my view. And I think the shame of it is, and I slightly disagree with Joanna and what Tim said earlier, is that actually, you know, the final two, we had a chance here to have a really interesting debate about the future of the party, future of the country, and that debate would have been...
Which is why some would have liked
would have
Rory
come from
Stewart.
Rory Stewart against Boris Johnson, because they're at the extremes. I think actually that would have been really healthy for us to have taken the opportunity to have that discussion about kind of what kind of party do we want to be, what kind of future do we want for the country. And actually a final two that is Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt, is there isn't much difference between them, and actually it's almost, I mean, I think ultimately a slightly futile process, because I do think Boris Johnson will ultimately win. So I'm not sure what we're really going to get out of that, and I think that's a pity.
I think to give Jeremy Hunt some credit, and coming into this whole leadership election, I couldn't frankly quite see the point of him, but I do think he performed well yesterday.
I agree.
I think that he was the one candidate in the debate that really sort of spoke, it seemed to me, openly and properly to the questioners. And I think he's shown a darn sight more sense than Boris Johnson when it comes to spending commitments as well. So there may be a debate between the two of them to be had on sort of fiscal propriety, as it were. And that's a very important aspect of conservatism, which seems to have been completely sort of ignored in all of this.
It is, but I think it's a debate within quite restricted parameters, whereas actually a debate between Rory Stewart and Boris Johnson would have been really, I think, quite interesting and energising for Conservatives.
Or
Rory
Stewart's
Rory Stewart making that point about tax cuts. I mean, you know, if you don't get Brexit right, you're not going to have the money in order to cut people's taxes.
That was the other thing that Boris slightly pulled away from yesterday, I thought.
Yes, he
did.
Yes,
his
he did.
two big headline things: we are leaving on the 31st, and I'm going to, you know, cut the top rate of tax or whatever it was. You know, were already sort of slightly desiccated.
Yes,
does that worry you?
Yes, of course it does.
I mean, you know, bearing in mind that he's probably going to win. I mean, you know, he's going to be the next Prime Minister. Lots of questions about, I don't know, you know, misspeaking, statements that perhaps stretch the truth, so on and so forth. No real underlying ideology that perhaps might endear him to people who are not Conservative voters, but who might be wavering, for instance. I mean...
Well, I think the lack of a clear ideology is not... I mean, it slightly bothers somebody like myself, because I'm a bit of a sort of conservative purist, but I think that's not necessarily a problem in terms of reaching out, and probably it's probably a great advantage.
Probably a good thing,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, sum up how he did that last night. Doesn't sound as if you were that impressed.
Well, I wasn't really. I mean, I haven't had a particular favourite from the beginning of this leadership race. I've seen it very differently from all the others that I've observed over the years, which is 5 or 6 now. And I think I can completely understand why Boris was a very successful London mayor, why he appealed at that moment to that city. But I've never been quite convinced that that wasn't actually the best role for him. So in a sense, my attitude to this whole campaign has been, come on guys and girls, whatever, you know, make my day. Tell me something that's going to impress me, that's going to get me to renew my party membership. And I've not really quite heard it yet. Yeah,
I mean, there are lots of people who would question his success in the role of Mayor of London, to be fair. But Chris, one wonders if his handlers and the people behind him were onto something, clearly, in making sure that he only attended the one debate.
Yeah, I think they were. And I think last night, actually, the format of it sort of justified their decision to sort of be quite
Absolutely.
cautious about it, because I didn't think the format was brilliant really for anyone last night. And actually, they'll point back at that and say, well, there we are. All it was really a bit of a bun fight between 5 Conservatives, and do we really want that on TV? So I think they'll be quite happy. I think also, I mean, I agree, I think Boris got away with it last night. He wasn't brilliant. And actually, if you really dug into some of his answers, there were issues there.
All right.
But I think he'll be happy enough.
All right, okay. Chris, Joanne, we'll be back to you in a second. We're going to get the announcement from Committee Room 14, 1922 Committee, and Dame Cheryl Gillen. No, it's not, actually. It's her colleague who's going to make the announcement.
And I, as returning officers of the election for the leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party, can now declare the results of the third ballot. The total number of votes cast in today's ballot was 313. The total number of ballot papers rejected was 0. The total number of votes given to each candidate in alphabetical order were as follows: Michael Gove, 51. Jeremy Hunt, 54. Sajid Javid, 38. Boris Johnson, 143. Rory Stewart, 27. The following candidates are now eligible to continue on to the next ballot on Thursday, 20th of June at 10 a.m. Michael Gove, Jeremy Hunt, Sajid Javid, and Boris Johnson. Right.
Well done.
Okay, well, there you have it. Boris Johnson again coming out on top, increasing his tally to 143. The headline, though, Rory Stewart is the man who didn't make the cut, going down 10 votes to 27. Michael Gove, he's up by 10 to 51. Jeremy Hunt, he's up 12 to 54, up 8 rather to 54. And Sajid Javid is up 5 to 38. Joanne, no surprise there, some would argue.
Well, I mean, obviously 10 minutes ago I was saying that there's a possibility that Rory Stewart might remain in the race. So, but that said, I mean, that was a sort of slight wishful thinking in terms of wanting this to be a kind of exciting,
to be a wider debate.
I mean, I'm actually really pleased that Sajid Javid has remained there, but I mean, I think as Chris was suggesting, you know, he may yet decide to pull out. And then really there's so little between Jeremy Hunt and Michael Gove now in terms of votes that this is beginning, even for those of us or people watching who may not be as riveted by this as we are, it is beginning to heat up, as they say.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, it looks as if, Rory Stewart, by his own admission, didn't have the best of nights last night. Yeah. So he's gone down. But in terms of Michael Gove and Jeremy Hunt, they've both gone up fairly substantially. It looks as if perhaps they got some of the Stewart vote and some of the Dominic Raab vote as well.
Yes, it looks like that. You don't, of course, know what actually happened yesterday with tactical voting and there was
all the shenanigans
going on and you never quite know.
Yeah.
It's a secret ballot, who knows? Yes, but I think Dominic Raab's votes will largely have gone to Boris Johnson, I think, but maybe Michael Gove might have been able to pick up some of those, and Rory Stewart's might have split fairly sort of evenly, I guess. I think my basic response to what's happened this evening, I think, is that everything's going to plan for Boris Johnson. Yeah. He's way ahead. He can now engineer it and almost pick his opponent in the final two. I do think he would rather that opponent be Jeremy Hunt than anyone else. So I think it's another good day for Boris Johnson.
Sure. Joanne, that wider debate within the Conservative Party that it's clear that you two feel should be taking place. You know, modern conservatism reaching out to audiences that perhaps might not have contemplated voting Conservative. Someone like Sajid Javid, is he the only one of this lot who perhaps fits that bill?
I think it's a mistake to suggest that he's the only one who fits the bill, because it suggests that just because he is not the only traditional candidate in Conservative terms, that he nevertheless is the only one that can articulate a different type of conservatism.
The other
think
three,
that
Oxbridge, public school, so on and so forth.
Yeah, but people need to listen to what they're saying, and I think, you know, looking at Michael Gove and what he's achieved in government, you know, he's really quite a radical. He's an intellectual. He's somebody with some really interesting ideas. And I think, were it not for the fact that, frankly, I think it's quite problematic having somebody that's admitted to breaking the law on several occasions as a potential Prime Minister, which was a huge shame, I think, because I think in terms of his capacity, particularly to articulate a conservatism that would take Jeremy Corbyn on, he's probably the strongest of the candidates.
He's ridden that out, though, hasn't he, I think, Chris? I mean, to begin with, or do you think that's still hampering him? He's always placed third, actually, not second.
Yeah, he's always placed third. I think that really did derail his campaign, and he's never really been able to get momentum going behind his campaign as a result. At the start of this contest, there were quite a few people I spoke to in the party who were saying, look, Boris Johnson is a shoo-in for the final two, and the question is who should go up against him. And frankly, the only person who could potentially beat him in the country would be Michael Gove, because he's a very good debater, and on the stump, in the hustings around the country, there was just a chance that maybe he could be the person to do it. But I think the moment that story came out, it just, momentum is so crucial in these things, and it really stalled his momentum. He's never really managed to get it going. Now look, he's still very close. He's only just behind Jeremy Hunt, and he could pick up some of those 27 votes from Rory Stewart, so it could yet happen. I just think that the dynamics of this are such that Boris Johnson has such a lead that he really can tactically choose almost who his final opponent will be, and I think that's why it plays against Michael. But I mean, don't rule him out. He's been ruled out in the past, and he's still there.
All right, okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Chris Wilkins, Joanne Nadler, it's good to see you both. Thanks for joining us. Let's get some more reaction now. Let's go back to our chief political correspondent, Vicky Young, who's in Central Lobby at Parliament. Vicky.
Yep, that's right, and people streaming down here to Central Lobby now to give their reaction to that result. Rory Stewart drops out of the race in round 3, leaving the 4 others to fight another day. Let's get some reaction from Liam Fox, who is with me now. You are supporting Jeremy Hunt. Now, what do you make of it? He's put on a few more supporters there, and he is in second place. Are you pleased with that?
Yes, he was in second place before. He's still in second place. I think that he did very well on the TV debate last night. He came across as clear, concise, authoritative. I think he has a calm presence that people are beginning to increasingly appreciate. There's no doubt there was a bit of tactical voting going on today.
What on earth do you mean?
We've been hearing of MPs saying, well, I actually want so-and-so, but I'm going to vote for someone else. Always in these contests, there's an element of who they want to eliminate. But you've got the 4 most experienced candidates left at the end. I think a lot of us would have thought that that was the most likely outcome from the very beginning of a very long process.
Now, there are some people saying that the final 2 should both be people who voted for Brexit. You yourself are a Brexiteer, that actually that's what people want, as in the grassroots of the Tory party. They want a choice between 2 Brexiteers. They don't want to risk, if you like, getting someone like Jeremy Hunt who voted Remain and isn't committed to the cause.
Well, what they want is someone who will make very clear that they won't accept no Brexit as an outcome. And as Jeremy Hunt has very clearly said, if the choice is between no Brexit and no deal, he would have to accept no deal. I wouldn't be supporting him if I didn't believe that he was going to clearly take us out of the European Union. But a general election will be more than a single issue. In a general election, we'll have to talk about the issues that voters want to talk about. The 2017 election, if it taught us anything, was we can't talk about one thing for the whole election when voters want to talk about the other issues. And I think Jeremy Hunt has got a very good communication with voters. He's an entrepreneur. He understands how small businesses work, the problems they face. That is key to the Conservative Party re-engaging with its electoral base. His father was in the armed forces. He understands the need for strong defences, and he was the health secretary and understands the need for spending on the NHS, he himself having achieved the single biggest agreement to increase spending that we've ever had in the history of the NHS.
Are you willing for there to be a slight delay to Brexit? So not the end of October, if a deal is in the offing?
Well, I think if there's a big difference between no agreement with the European Union, in which case there'll be a very strong incentive to leave on the 31st of October. But if we're in the process of leaving, if we have an agreement and we're in the process of legislating it, I think most people would think it was irrational to abandon all of that just because of a single date. I want us to leave the European Union. I've spent a great deal of time campaigning for that, but I want us to leave the European Union in the least disruptive way possible. I believe we can get a better agreement. I think leaving with a deal is the best way, but if the choice is ultimately between leaving without a deal and not having Brexit at all, that is entirely a no-brainer.
Now, what about what some colleagues are saying about Jeremy Hunt? Not to sound too rude about it, but some have said he's just a bit uninspiring, he's a bit dull, he's Theresa May in trousers. You've heard people saying that. They want a bigger character, they want the charisma of Boris Johnson.
I think what people want is the best Prime Minister. Jeremy, I've worked with him very closely in Cabinet and elsewhere. I think he exudes a quiet confidence. I think that he is extremely good at mastering detail, in command of his brief. I think in the House of Commons he is always very knowledgeable and always very courteous. And I think there's a place in our politics for politeness and courtesy.
Now, not to be impolite, I'm going to move you out of the way and bring in someone else to get some more reaction. Johnny Mercer is here. He is backing Boris Johnson. And, I mean, way ahead there, 143 votes. I mean, is there any point carrying on with this contest?
There is, because, look, clearly he's doing well and he's broadening his base and more people are voting for him for different areas of the party. So it's going well. But, you know, if we're lucky enough to make it through till tomorrow, then there's the 4 weeks where we actually go out to the country and try and build a vision of a modern Conservative party. And, you know, that's the exciting part. So still some work to do here. No complacency. We're lucky enough to get through tomorrow, and then we can start campaigning in earnest across the country.
And is that going to be the aim when you go around the country, if he gets through, which it looks like he will do, is to build a broader vision? Because we haven't had much of that so far.
This is what this is all about. We are not going to achieve anything amongst these divisions and these splits that are currently going on. And when that does happen, I think, you know, it'd be an opportunity to really go and espouse what modern conservatism is about. But once we then have a winner and a prime minister, to then come back together as a party, as a group, really, and try and meet the huge challenge we now face of Brexit. I mean, it's paralysed this place for 2.5, 3 years. Out there are people waiting us to get on and govern and get on with our jobs here and meet the challenges of their daily lives. So, you know, those are the bits that people like me are looking forward to, and I think, you know, it'll be good.
I think one of the biggest challenges going to be to get unity back in the party. I mean, we've all watched the last 2 years. There was a total breakdown, actually, of authority, of unity, of discipline. I mean, you've watched on in horror sometimes as that has happened. How can a new leader do that? It's going to be so different.
Look, I think when you get a new leader, there is a new sort of buzz about the place. There's going to be a new sort of energy to try and meet this challenge. There's no doubt about it. The numbers haven't changed and the challenge is there. But I do think our best opportunity of getting through that is packing a team around Boris Johnson, uniting as one team after this. You know, no one said it's going to be easy, but we have to do it because we have to deliver this Brexit by October the 31st. Otherwise, we're going to be in serious trouble as a party and, you know, as a democracy, really, and not doing what we were so clearly mandated to do. So I think we can do it. MPs understand that. I think we can do it, and it'd be good to get to the end of this process, certainly.
It will be over soon. Johnny Mercer, thank you very much indeed. We will grab a few more people and get reaction from the other camps, so do come back to us in a minute.
All right, Vicky, thank you for that, Vicky Young there. Let's continue with our guests here, Joanne Nadler and Chris Wilkins. Joanne, let's pick a Boris Johnson cabinet, because we know, you know, he's going to win, right? Who's Foreign Secretary?
Perhaps Rory Stewart.
but this is interesting, isn't it? I mean, you know, if you brought Rory Stewart in as Foreign Secretary, which I think you would like, by the sounds of things from what you were saying before.
Well, it would be intriguing.
It would be intriguing, wouldn't it? Because it does feel as if they have different ideas of British power.
I think, you know, I don't think that's going to happen. I think more possibly Michael Gove.
Yeah.
I think
which is probably what he would want.
Yes. I think we might see Jeremy Hunt as Chancellor. I think we might see somebody like Andrea Leadsom or, well, I think Andrea Leadsom possibly as party chairman, because I think the party faithful rather admired the way that she supported Theresa May. She was loyal up until, you know, until it was really pushed her a bit too far to do that. It's an important role, and you know that it's a job that needs to be done. There's definitely a job that needs to be done in terms of reorganising the party.
There's got to be.
I also think there's something to be said for David Cameron was very good at keeping people in post and letting them get on with things and developing them. And actually, I think Michael Gove has been a really good Environment Secretary, and in a sense, it'd be a shame to see him moved.
All right. Okay, we're going to have to go back to Vicky at Central Lobby. She's got another guest for us.
Yeah, Michael Gove and his team, who are sounding pretty pleased with what's going on with them. 51 votes for Michael Gove. We have the Education Secretary, Damon Hines, with me now. Is that enough progress? I mean, he's still not in second place, and let's face it, we are talking about who gets second place here, aren't we?
This is accelerating progress, actually, we're seeing from Michael Gove. He's closed the gap. He's been putting on votes at a very good pace. Obviously, we've got more votes to come tomorrow, and I'd be encouraging everybody, all of my colleagues, to think about who they want to be in that other place. We know who one of the two people in the final is going to be. The question is, who is the other going to be? And Michael Gove is the candidate who is able to unite our party around him. He's got the experience, he's got the vision for the future, and he's got the practical approach to making sure we get out of the European Union.
Someone said earlier, a commentator, that the psychodrama of Boris Johnson against Michael Gove would be terrible for the Conservative Party, given what happened last time round. Michael Gove pulling his support from Boris Johnson and Boris Johnson standing down. I mean, it would be interesting for journalists. Would it be good for the party?
Well, look, these are two big personalities we're talking about, and Michael has the stature, he has the debating capability, certainly. He's been putting himself under scrutiny from you and your colleagues in the media. We need to see that now happening out in the country, where the two last candidates are subject to scrutiny, are having a good, robust debate about ideas, about policy, about how the country can keep on moving forwards. And I think Michael is the right man to have as one of the two people who are going to be in the final.
Do you think it's a problem because he has said that he wouldn't be totally wedded to that exit date of the 31st of October? Is that going to mean he doesn't get as much support as he might have hoped?
Look, that's just sensible. And, you have to do what you think is right, and then you have to sell why you think it's right to the public. Now, we need to get out of the European Union, but as Michael rightly says, I mean, if you were within touching distance of a good deal to get out of the European Union, are you really going to say you're going to chuck it up in order to have a no-deal Brexit, which we know is not a good outcome? It's not a good outcome for this country, it's not a good outcome for the European Union either, but it raises questions about the integrity of the Union of the United Kingdom. It raises big questions, big challenges for some of our really crucial business sectors. No, of course you wouldn't. You would say, let's keep going just till we get over the line so we get a good negotiated exit deal.
What about those who say that Michael Gove is divisive in the sense that, as a predecessor of yours as Education Secretary, that he did ruffle feathers?
He's not been afraid to do difficult things, and yes, sometimes some of those things have attracted criticism, but actually they've also had great effect. So in education, the area I know best of all, actually the progress that was made during Michael's time with some of the reforms made in schools actually has been really, really significant for children in our country. And crucially, it wasn't only about raising the average attainment in schools. Everything Michael did, and I'm absolutely signed up to this as well, everything we do in education has to be about both raising attainment but also narrowing the attainment gap between the rich and the poor, and great progress was made on that front too.
Okay, Damon Hines, thank you very much indeed. That is the response there from Team Gove. I'm just looking over here because Rory Stewart is standing there. He's going to come and speak to us. He's just being hugged by Nicola Soames, a massive supporter of his, obviously very disappointed at losing out at this stage. He's getting a lot of support from Nicola Soames, a big hug, but clearly the dream is over for Rory Stewart. He's going to come and speak to us now. We're live on BBC News. Give me your response. Obviously disappointed.
Well, disappointed because I think our country is at a moment of great crisis. Disappointed because the long-term future of our party and our country must be in the centre ground of politics. Disappointed because really the fact that Lib Dem voters or Labour voters wanted to vote for me should be something we're proud of, something we should embrace as a party. And disappointed also that in the end, perhaps some of the things I was saying, that a no-deal Brexit would be catastrophic, or that you can't negotiate a new deal with Europe, probably proved to be truths that people weren't quite ready to hear. But I still think they're truths, and I'm still going to keep saying them.
I mean, that's what I was going to say to you. It doesn't seem like your party, your fellow MPs are wanting to hear that message.
No, I would conclude that they don't seem to be ready to hear that message. But I think the public wants to hear that message, and I think there's a reason for that, it is simply true. I mean, anybody looking at Europe anyone reading the legal text or the resolutions know that no deal is coming by October and December. And people who suggest it is are misleading themselves, I think would be the polite way of putting it. I think everyone else sees there's a gaping hole in the middle of British politics. And we don't have to try to appease the Nigel Farage hard Brexit side of our party or Jeremy Corbyn. There are a lot of people who want a sensible politics, a lot of people who don't want to follow the United States or Europe down the path of a divisive politics. And we can save that. And I think in the end I trust the British people.
Do you think at times you were too critical of people like Boris Johnson, that some in your party didn't like that attack, that so-called blue-on-blue attack?
Absolutely. One of the things that's been an issue throughout the campaign is I've tried to say that my issue with Boris is his policies, that I frequently don't know what he actually believes about anything, and I'm worried that he's going to disappoint people and let them down. I think that was an important thing to say because I believe by choosing a leader, we're actually choosing a Prime Minister. Prime Minister, hopefully, that we would have for 2 or 7 years. So this is the time to ask those questions, but I agree, they're uncomfortable questions. People felt that they were exposing divisions within the party they weren't comfortable with. My conclusion to that, though, is that you don't unify a family or a party by pretending to agree when you disagree. You unify through honesty and trust.
Talking about unity, how could someone like Boris Johnson, it does look like he's obviously so far ahead with the support of MPs and in the grassroots of the Tory party, can he bring the party together, given that you've said you wouldn't serve under him or maybe any of the other candidates?
I wish him absolutely the best of luck in doing what he's doing. The way that he'll bring the party together, the way he'll bring the country together, is the way that any leader brings something together, with two things, with a real sense of reality, ability to look at the facts as they present themselves, and a noble vision of the future, a vision for what this country could be. And if he can deliver those two things, he will unify this country.
Have you, unlike the others, started with a cabinet job and you're going to end up not having a cabinet job because you won't serve with the others?
That's definitely true. I appear to have written my cabinet resignation letter, but I'm very proud of my department. I love it, and I'll return to work happily first thing tomorrow morning. You'll see me back in the House of Commons giving a statement on our work in Syria and Iraq against Daesh, a very important fight against terrorism. And I am so proud of this country. I began to serve my country as a young soldier when I was 19. I'm serving it now as a man of 47. It's nearly 30 years, and I've got a lot more service still to give.
Finally, have you decided who you're going to support out of the other candidates?
Absolutely not. I'm going back to my 2-year-old and 4-year-old, and I'm going to play with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rory Stewart. So, clear disappointment there for Rory Stewart, but he and his team, they do feel they've brought something different to this campaign by getting out there and talking to people beyond Westminster and beyond the Conservative Party.
Right, Vicky, thank you for that. Vicky Young there. I just want to pick up on some of the points that Rory Stewart was making there. Disappointed, obviously, but almost sorrowful, mournful that he believes that a clear path that the Conservative Party could take to bring people into the centre ground has potentially been squandered, Chris.
Yeah, I think there's something in that. I mean, effectively, the Conservative Party this evening has said to Lib Dem voters, Labour voters, floating voters, well, actually, we're not so concerned about your views and your votes, because Rory was indeed the candidate that people like that were saying they could vote for. There was a criticism all the way through that actually he was the candidate that Tories didn't like, but everyone else did. But actually, to win elections, you need to bring those people on board. So it is a bit sort of disappointing, I think, that that we've sort of turned our back on that by excluding him from this. But ultimately, I think he didn't succeed in quite framing the choice for Conservative MPs in the right way, and maybe he was at times a little too brutal on the other candidates, as he said.
Sure. Joanne, the suggestion that he's already written his cabinet resignation.
Well, I think something will be done to try and get round that, because although I have reservations about his policy platform, if you like, and I don't agree that the best way to reach out beyond the Conservative Party is effectively to say that the Conservative message is inherently wrong. I mean, that's what you let. Was
that what he was saying?
Well, I mean, it was almost getting to that point, I think. I mean, he was taking, if he'd approached yesterday's debate with the tone that we've just heard from him there, I think things might have been slightly different. But he was so personally critical, I think, of the other candidates that although undoubtedly he's brought a fantastic, sense of energy and just a different approach to the whole thing that's been.
I mean, we know the fucking was on that. Move on talk. It's just shocking. Like, such a jabbed. Michael fucking Gove, Jeremy Cunt, and Boris the fucking clown. Oh god, one of these fuckers are gonna be our Prime Minister. I'm literally just like. Okay. Just want to ask you guys in the side chat, if you had the choice between them fucking retards and Rory Stewart or Theresa May, which one would you pick? Honestly. I know Theresa May is a massive fucking cockwomble, but I'm going to say this, and I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone right now. I would rather have Rory Stewart as the Prime Minister than any of these fucking idiots. Yeah. Like I don't like Tories. Let's just get this shit straight. I don't like Tories. Or May. Yeah. These other ones, we're so fucking doomed. General election is coming. I've got no idea. Like, I don't like Tories. I just don't. You guys know my political views in that regard. But really, I would if Rory would have been like, at least in with a shot or whatever, I would have been like, okay, yeah. I would have put up with that shit. I watched a good lecture with him actually at Yale University talking about international development aid and how crazy it is, and I was like, oh, this guy knows his shit. He speaks 11 languages. I shit you not. Right? But in terms of how he's thinking about Brexit, I voted to leave. The guy's telling you the truth. Like, he's not making that shit up. He's literally saying the only way to stop Brexit in terms of what you're saying is a no-deal Brexit is, one, dissolve Parliament, or the government gets shafted, which is dissolving Parliament, can't they? Or they go on a break, right? Because Parliament can just go, no, you're not. You're not at all. You're not leaving on a no-deal, because we'll, one, bring the government down, and he will. There's enough numbers in the House of Commons to bring the government down. It's a hung Parliament. More people will vote against this no-deal shit than the people who are bullshitting you on TV. It's amazing to think that we're basically electing bullshitters who are telling you, like, I voted leave, like I'm saying, someone will say that no deal's going to happen. It isn't. Unless you have a general election and get rid of the people, it's not going to happen. This is the mad part. I'm a Brexiteer, but I'm not dumb. I'm not dumb at all. This is madness. It's beyond madness now. I didn't like Theresa May's deal. I think the whole thing was a clusterfuck from the get-go in regards to how we should have left. But that's whatever, right? That's in the past. And now we're going to get a general election. We just are, because there's no fucking way Parliament's going to let these fucking morons leave on October 31st with no deal. Not a chance. They will literally fucking go to the Queen and do all that mad shit. They'll bring down the government. And so will Tory voters. Not voters, I mean Tory politicians will side with Labour and bring down the government. These fuckers have got no idea what they're doing. At least Rory was telling you the truth. The only deal on the table is the shitty one that we've got. Everybody hates it. It only lasts 2 years, right? But everybody hates it. They could have just passed the fucking thing and we would have left already, right? Everyone's saying we're going to be a vassal state. That's kind of true, but only for 2 years. It wasn't in perpetuity. Though, to be fair, it was in regards to XX, right? But always, fuck the deals. Fucking deals even shit. Fuck all that. The point being is, there's no way the European Union is going to give us a new deal. Not a fucking chance. Our leaving date is on the 31st of October. The Commission doesn't come back till the 1st of November. Last time I checked, October comes before November. Yes, it does. Right? So, there's no way they're going to do that shit. Now, there's no legislative time, apparently, for them to stop it. But the only tool in the box of Parliament now is a general election, which means a vote of no confidence. So sooner or later, before October, we're getting a general election. Before the year's done, people, we're getting a general election. So in fact, Rory Stewart should be happy. I can see him being a future Conservative leader. I really do. I don't think his time's up yet. I don't like Tories, but I can see him being a Tory leader in time. Because I think these people, all these toffs, he's a toff, but in terms of what he's saying, he was the only honest one. And people recognise that. He even said Labour voters would vote for him because he was being the only sane one out of the bunch of arse clown liars, right? So I can see him having a good future. He might have to hold his tongue and sit on the back benches for a little while. But when this clown car posse show is over, I think he's got a good chance of being the next Tory leader. I shit you not. And actually, he doesn't sound that bad, even though he's a Tory, and I don't like the Tory, philosophy, ideology. I think he would make a good Tory leader if he gets the job, clearly, in the future. Because whoever wins this, and this is the most important part for you guys to remember, whoever wins this is toast anyway. Because come the next general election, Labour's going to fucking win the next general election. End of story. Everybody is fed up with the Tories. Even Tories are fed up with the Tories. So, I know it seems a bit mad that we have to put up with this shit again. But the next Tory leader, whoever gets picked out of these fucking arse clowns, is already toast. Even if you have to wait a year or two. I think there's going to be a general election this year. But let's say it doesn't happen. And we have to wait till 2022, the next election. They're toast. Fucking toast. Because if we're not out by October, and we're not going to be out by October, trust me on that shit, they're toast. Bye bye Tory party. Bye bye. Bye bye. They're fucking toast. Anyway, thought I'd just have a little rant afterwards, Well, it's not even a rant, it's just common sense, isn't it? I feel sorry for poor Rory though, because he was the only one telling the actual fucking truth. Where the rest of them were just lying sods, to be fair. Just badly liars. Or bad liars, I should say. So, it could be that John F makes a good point. Is that if all goes pear-shaped, the Brexit party could get a few seats. That could change the dynamics. I think the Lib Dems in the next election will gain a few seats more. I don't think they'll be stuck there. I think the SNP are going to probably lose a few seats. Probably. I think the Tories are going to get fucking ass whooped. I honestly do. I think the Tories are toast. Labour, I don't know. The North, you need to understand something about the North, right? Even though Brexit's important, the people in the North don't vote for the Tories. They would rather vote for the Brexit party. So, it's not like the Conservatives are going to win a seat. If anything, the Brexit party is going to win a seat. Or Labour will lose their majority, right? Do you know what I mean? So, that's a bit mad. I think the Tories are going to lose more than the Labour party will. By a lot. Fuck, where's my beers gone? Shit. Anyway, point being is, I think it's a bit weird. So bear with me a second, I've got to grab a beer before I continue my political analysis of the mad shit that's just happened.
On the tax side, and tax and spend side of things.
Even though we've lost his candidature in this race, the question he asked all the other candidates last night and time again remains, which is on Brexit, which is the issue. There are now 4 candidates left, all of them saying they're going to renegotiate the withdrawal agreement. And he said, how are you going to do it? Tell us how you're going to do it. Not one of them can do that. So he was just being realistic.
But he didn't have a solution either.
I think that was the problem. He didn't have that panacea in his locker either. That's the thing. All right, Chris Wilkins, Joanne Nadler, it's good to have you both with us. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Okay, you're watching BBC News now. Sports Day.
Right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I just had to grab a burr. So, continue where I left off. Tories are doomed, basically, at this point. That's as far as I can understand it anyway, the Tories are doomed. I think Labour will still win the next election. By not as much as they should do, but I think they'll have enough seats to be in government. I think the Tories are going to shed a fuck ton of seats. I think maybe I agree with John F. I think we're going to have another little political party called the Brexit Party in there. If Brexit doesn't go ahead, I can see that happening because you got a lot of pissed off people. See, I'm a Leave voter, but I would still never vote for the Tories, clearly. Duh. Because I'm a Labour supporter. But I don't like Labour's policy, only because the centrists have took over Jeremy Corbyn's stance of we respect the vote, blah blah blah, and you can see day by day he's getting hammered by the centrists in the Labour Party, which is shit. So a lot of people will defect from Labour because of Brexit. They'll vote for the Brexit Party, maybe in a general election, depending, maybe on a manifesto or whatever. But if Brexit's still a live issue, then they're definitely going to vote for them. So Labour's going to lose a fuck ton of fucking votes. They just about won that other one. But people still suffer from austerity. See, the thing about Brexit is, if you're like me and you care about economics and history and shit, Brexit's important, but it's not the be all and end all of why I vote in regards to governments and stuff, right? What's more important is how governments use our taxpayers' money, my money and yours. How do they spend that money? I like Labour's manifesto because it's moving in the right direction of how the state should actually work. Right? Taxpayers' money should never be given to private corporations, ever. Ever, ever, ever. If you tell me that the government can't run shit, then why do you have a government? You get the point what I'm saying here? The state collects taxes for a reason, in order to pay for shit that you require as a citizen. It shouldn't give that money to a private corporation in order to enrich them. It just shouldn't. That should be against the law. If I was the Prime Minister, it would be the fucking law. No fucking taxpayers' money goes to any private corporation. Ever. You can have way better value for money if the government wasn't so bureaucratic. I can tell you numerous ways the government could save money. Literally numerous ways, because they're so archaic in their systems. For instance, when you want to pay for your student loans or some shit like that, right? They ask you for your identity, even though they give you a loan and whatever, and you're literally registered as a fucking, a British citizen. Doesn't matter which part of our United Kingdom you come from. You already pay tax via your national insurance number. You need to apply for the national insurance number if you're a foreigner. I shit you not. You get one when you're 16 in the post. Here, there's your tax card. How can they not know the difference between someone who pays their taxes legally with a birth certificate? Don't you have any records of that shit? Oh no, we don't have records. Oh, it's a different department. You see how stupid this gets at this point? The bureaucratic nonsense of all these mad departments is why they set up universal credit, really. But that was a scam, because universal credit was a cost-cutting initiative. It wasn't based on how to actually make information more streamlined between departments. So you can save a fuck ton of money if you know how to work shit properly, right? Or implement shit properly, I should say. So you can save money that way. But you should never ever give taxes that we pay to private corporations to do the exact same job the government can do. Because one, a private corporation is there to make profits. It's not there to give you a service. It's there to make money. That's the entire fucking point. So they will skimp and please their shareholders. We don't have shareholders in the government. We are the shareholders. The people who pay taxes are the shareholders. NHS is the biggest public listed company in inverted commas in the UK, right? massive. If we start shelling out our taxpayers' money wastefully, that's why it dies. Not because of private corporations and come and save it because they're more efficient. They're not more efficient. That's complete bullshit. That's a myth. Private corporations are not more efficient. They're just more greedy. Their entire point of why they get government contracts is to make money. To provide you a service for less than the service that was already getting provided by taxpayers' fucking money. It's basic fucking math. If you provide a service to somebody and you want to make money, well, you got to make money somehow. How do you make money then? You cut some shit, right? You pay your workers less, you give them less benefits, all that bullshit. Someone's losing out. So the fucking private corporation can fucking keep its shareholders happy and its CEO. You see the point? So all taxpayers' money should be banned from going to private corporations. Now let's get back to Brexit. The reason why Brexit's weird and the Tory party's weird is because these fucking arse clowns have been in power for literally 9 years. Fucking 9 years. And every one of them in that debate yesterday told you, oh, we're going to invest, now we can invest because the budget was too high, the deficit was high, all this bullshit. Our deficit and debt was like 185% or some weird shit during World War II, 1945 or whatever the fuck it was. It would be 1947-ish. Or whatever the fuck it finished anyway. Our debt was massive. We set up the NHS during World War II. And these fuckers want to convince you that we've got no money because someone wrote a joke on a desk saying the money's run out. That was you remember that? That was a Labour Party guy wrote it down on a bit of sticky paper saying there's no money left. Which is a bullshit idea anyway, especially when the Bank of England is our credit card system. It's just bullshit. Brexit was never meant to happen. It was a glory project for Cameron. And I voted leave. I'll tell anybody the story. David Cameron got shit scared of UKIP in the EU elections and was like, we need to beat Labour in the next election. And he did. But the stupid cunt didn't do one thing, which is take Brexit off the table. He was like, oh no, let's keep going with Brexit. Look what happened next, this shitstorm. They were so confident that they would win, which is bizarre. If you know anything about British politics, you would know very well that the Brits aren't too happy being Europeans. Anybody could tell you that shit, to be quite fucking frank, unless you're deluded or living under fucking rocks or something, I don't fucking know. But he decided, oh yeah, let's go ahead with the stupid idea called a fucking referendum. What do you know? The fucking obvious happened. People voted to fucking leave. And now they all shit themselves because they don't know what to do next. Because most of them have been around that long that Europe just seems fucking normal to them. Because it's one of their gravy trains, man. Literally, if you can't get into the House of Lords, you become an MEP or a commissioner or some fucking retard in fucking Europe. It's a gravy train. These people fucking love gravy trains. That's their entire point. If you get 75 grand a year, trust me, gravy train is your middle name, and these fuckers love it. So now we end up with the clown car posse. I'm sorry to tell you, if you voted leave, it ain't happening. Brexit died the day Theresa May lost the election to Jeremy Corbyn. Suck it up. Suck it right up your pipe. Brexit's dead, yo. Because if these people think that we're going to get a Brexit anytime soon, you're very mistaken. And like I said, I voted leave. You need to be, realistic at this point. Brexit got kiboshed by the very same people who told you they could deliver it. Kiboshed. I don't like the EU one bit, but I'd rather stay in the EU and get rid of the Tories. How about that? as someone who voted leave, if I had a choice between staying in the EU as it is right now and getting these fucking arse clowns out, I would stay in the EU. Because these fucking idiots couldn't run a piss up in a fucking brewery. Honestly, they couldn't. It's fucking shockingly fucking retarded. This is the worst parliament / government I've ever seen in my entire life. I thought Margaret Thatcher was a cunt. And she was, don't get me wrong. But you know one thing Margaret Thatcher had over these fucking idiots? She at least had a clue. These fucking idiots have got no fucking clue whatsoever. And they're gonna run our country now. Armageddon, anybody? It's fucking terrible. It is fucking terrible. So, the next ballot's gonna be tomorrow. 1 o'clock, and then we got one at 6. So we got 2 streams for you tomorrow, or maybe 3. I think Politics Labs will be on tomorrow. We might have to flip over from that though. So we might have a 2-hour extended stream from 12:15 till just after 1, and then we'll see what happens then. And then we'll do one at the 6 o'clock one, I think it is. So there's going to be two streams for you guys tomorrow. I'm actually going to stream. Shall I do that now since I'm on here? I'm not. Oh man, maybe I should just rename it because I wanted to just upload Newsnight from yesterday. Yeah, maybe it's a waste of time because we got the results today because it was just like old news about Rory. I feel sorry for Rory Stewart actually. I really do. Like I said, I don't like Tories clearly, but I thought he was the only one telling the truth, which is a bit shit, really, Anna. You know what I mean? Yeah, Thatcher was a complete cunt. I totally agree with you, Gaiman. She was a complete cunt, but she had a clue. She knew what she was doing. She knew how to fuck over the miners and the unions and all that shit. She was ruthless. These idiots, oh my god, they sold the post office when it was making money. Why would you do that? It's like Gordon Brown selling all gold, you fucking moron. Why would you do that? Some people aren't fit to be Prime Minister, I'm sorry, they're just not. And as much as I hate Tony Blair, he was a good Prime Minister. If he would never have invaded Iraq, he would have went down as one of the most popular Prime Ministers in our fucking history. Other than Churchill, he was a fucking racist, but that's here nor there. But you get the point, right? Tell me one thing that you think of when you think of Tony Blair, when you hate him. Iraq, that's the only thing. There's not much else you can think of that you would hate him for, because he didn't do fuck all else wrong, other than Iraq. PFI, whatever. He needed to get PFI because the Tories ruined the NHS. When he got in power, he had to borrow a fuck ton of money to fix the fucking hospitals. Remember 18 weeks to wait on the NHS? Anybody remember that shit? I fucking do. I'm just saying, as much as I can't stand Tony Blair and he should be locked up in a prison cell, he was still far better than these fucking twats. I don't even agree with him about Europe, clearly, but he was far more competent than these fucking morons were. Far better. Even Thatcher was. Even fucking John Major was more fucking competent than these fucking morons. I mean, I can name a fuck ton of prime ministers who everyone thought was shit at the time. These, you can't even compare these people from the past with these bunch of fucking idiots now. It's like it's bizarre. These are class A fucking drug using morons. Am I allowed to say that? Oh yeah, I can, because they took fucking class A drugs. Twats. Fuckers. Anyway. Is bobbing dismissed, say? Alright, I better shut now because I've just been waffling for like 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever the fuck it was. Let's see. Yeah, so tomorrow, I'll be back tomorrow and then... yeah, no streams later today. What date's it tomorrow? What day? Wait, is it Wednesday today? Jesus. Oh, question time's on tomorrow. 3 streams, you lucky people. So we've got 3 streams tomorrow. Question time as well, 10:30 or 10:35, depending on the schedule. So we've got question time, politics live, and 2 ballot results. I'm going to be a busy little bunny tomorrow then, ain't I? Anyway, I hope you all have a lovely day, or the remainder of your night times, or whatever it is. Yeah, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe button, and all that jazz. Tell your friends, if you've got any. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. I hope you all have a good night time, evening, and shit. And have a beer on me. Ta-ra.